Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to add a new app to our project, the passport project. Okay, so here's what I have before we're going to add to it. Okay, now these are already being defined, so I don't want to mess up with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in this app it uses or references courses, the object or model called courses a lot. Meaning, when you're taking a course, you want to have a course object to associate with associate with the calendars, with the student schedules, and everywhere. So what I decided to do is to create a course object, because it's very useful, it's common. So instead of I just put a course model into one of these apps, I'm going to create a separate app. By doing that, also I can show you how to actually create an app and to connect into the main page to get it show up on this. Okay, so this can be a reference for your work too. So here's the step, and in the meeting, I think Sakar talked about because I was jumping everywhere, it's kind of get hard to follow. So I'm gonna do this. This is the steps I'm gonna do. First, we're gonna run the starter app, the Django utility, to create an app called courses. Okay, then I'm gonna add the courses, the app name, to the settings.py. This is to register the project, and so to register the app in the project, so the project will recognize that. Okay, and the third I'm going to do is to add the courses path to the urls.py at the project level. So what I'm talking about is this, right? So if we look at the structure of the project, okay, so you see it where at the project level, I'm talking about here, there's a urls.py. This is where I will be adding to. Okay, added the path to the courses to this. Okay, that's the new app, right? Fourth is I'm going to create a urls.py module inside courses application, and then we'll add a directory called templates inside that application as well. And underneath of that, furthermore, I have to create a courses directory to hold the HTML templates. Okay. By the way, these names are predefined by Django, so you cannot just name whatever you want to. Okay, that's what Django framework expecting. Step 6 is decided what do we want to do with the new course application, right? So what I decide is to do two things. First is, in the application, it allows us to list all the courses, and then allow us to add the new courses. Okay, the two things, only two things. Now, if you look at this, right, I don't know if you folks are familiar with the term CRUD. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. So basically, it's very similar to that. Each of these things are kind of match to what this, what the CRUD does, right? So the number 7, since we know what we wanted this application do, so the 7th step is to add the URL, so to direct to these two actions: list all courses and add new courses. These two actions in this app, we need to create a URL specifically point to those two action items, right? So where do you add? You add those to the urls.py for the application. Keep in mind, to the application, not to the project. Okay, because that's the application level. What do you want the application to do? So step 8 is implementing the actual action. Okay, in the views.py. Okay, So now we have a URL. URL knows where to go to perform the action, right? Where that action is performed, it's in the views.py. So, yeah, the view. Then it's number 9. Add the corresponding HTML templates to the template courses folder. That's what we already created in this step 5. Okay, so let me change this. This is 9, 10. So the step 10 is, because these pages contains the data, right? Because like a list that involves reading the data off the database and then display it. So because of that, as I said before, when you do the data, dealing with the data, you need a model. So now we create a models.py in the courses application folder, okay? And then we will have to create that model. So to add a course model to the models.py. And then step 12 is, since we're also creating the new course object, so we need to have a form, because you're taking the data from the web page. So I need a Python forms module to do the data validation when the user data is being inputted into it. Okay, so that's what the forms.py. So I need to create it in the courses application folder, because that's specific to the course application. Okay, and then the last step 13, is to actually hook these two actions, list all the courses, add a new courses, and then add a link to our base index HTML page, so we'll get the link show up. So this is what I was saying. From here, this is where I want to add. Okay, you can add it anywhere, but I decide to add it here, so we'll get the menu show up here. Okay, so that's really the what we wanted to do. Now, this is a rather long video, and also I have not rehearsed on this as well. It's all rehearsed. So if I run into glitches or if it runs too long, I will break this thing into 2 parts. Okay. So now, as I said, we're going to do the first step, right? Create an app. So from here, I'll run manage the tool. The tool. Click the tool. Run the manage.py. Okay. Okay, so now I do start app, right? So the application name is courses. Okay, now look at this, right? So it creates the PyCharm through the command. PyCharm IDE creates the courses folder for us already, right? So let's do the step 2. Add courses, this application name, to the settings.py to register the application in the project. Otherwise, the project won't know. Okay. So what we do is come over here at the project folder, settings.py. Here we will add that to it. Okay. One of the good things about the PyCharm is actually, because the hint, you really don't. It's almost impossible for you to make typos. Okay, so basically, I'm adding the courses to the installed apps to let the project know this is a new app. Okay. So now we've done the step 2. Let's do step 3, which is add the courses path to the URLs.py. So basically, I wanted to, at the project level, right, at the root project level, I needed to know, to let the project know, if you see a URL address starts with courses, what the project or the root level switch is supposed to do. So if it sees courses, right, And then what we're supposed to do? Well, you know what? I don't know yet. So what you do is, okay, you know what? Let's do this. Why don't we just tell the Django project I'm adding the it's almost like daisy chain. So I'm going to have that call the courses.url. So in the application, I will create a urls.py. So it's almost like a daisy chain, a relay. So when I see the beginning of the URL is courses, okay, call the urls.py in the courses application folder, continue on the next level of interpretation or translation. Okay, so that's the step 3, right? Now obviously we said go to courses application URL to continue the translation or interpretation of this. So we need to create this module because there is none. It's Django does not, when you create an app, it does not create that module for you by default. So we need to add to it. Okay, so we will, from here we will create a new Python file. It's called urls, right? What happened? Oh, wait. Sorry, I created a wrong location. Sorry about this. What? So it's in the courses. I picked the wrong place. Okay, so in the courses, I add a new Python file called urls.py, right? Do you want to add a following to it? Okay, so that's the urls.py, right? Now we've done steps 4. Let's do the, I'm going to tap so we know where it is. So I'm going to do now we're at the step 5. Add the templates and the courses directory. So inside of the application, you want to create a new directory. Okay, the new directory is called templates, and as I said in this list, so by Django's convention, I need to create a folder underneath of it, directory underneath it. It has to be identical to the application name. Okay, otherwise when the Django start running it won't know where your application specific URL goes. Okay, it won't know. So that's why you needed this. Okay, now we finished step 5, right? So let's move on to step 6. Decide what we want the course application do. Well, in this case, I already said we're going to do a list all the courses and add new courses. Okay, so now we decide that we need to add a URL to list all these, right? So in my URL, remember I said it's really the continuation of the root level URL.py, right? So what we need to do is to add just a second. So what we're going to do is to add the further down path to this. Okay, so let me go through this. Now I'll explain to you real quick, so it'll be easier that way. Okay. Okay, so what we need to do, since we already decided we're gonna have two actions, right? We wanted this application to do 2 things. list all the courses and add new courses. Okay, so what we need to do is, again, remember this is a brand new created Python module. So what we do is basically we will say these are standard. You can just copy paste it out of the the modules. So the URL pattern is, if I see the path equal to nothing, right? You see this? If it's at the root level, it's courses, right? So if it sees the first part, the URL is courses, and then it's going to call daisy chain to the next urls.py, which is courses.url. Then it's looking for the second part of that URL slash after the slash is courses again. Then what I will do is I will call views.py function to list all the records. By the same token, if you have course, notice the difference. Okay, course URL, and then slash with new, then I'm going to add a new records. Now just ignore that's the detail, and we don't have to worry about because otherwise we will not be able to cover them all. Okay, so I added these two, right? So since we decided, we know what we wanted the application to do, so we're going to add these two actions in the URL. So when we doing this, we will know where in the function, in the views.py module, where that go and what function perform or class perform this action, list, view, or allow me to create. Okay, so that's the step 7 we already completed. Let's move on to step 8, implementing the actual action in the views.py. Okay, so let's look at the views.py. Right now there's nothing in it. For the courses application, the views.py, which is really with the execution of the what you wanted the object to do, right? It's the implement that. We don't have that yet. So okay. What we need to do is to add to implement the actual because you want to list all the courses, so we need to implement the actual code to do that. Okay, so keep in mind here the URL says, right, the URL says views.py. You know what, let me delete this because it gets confusing. Okay, so I'll delete. So we'll just do this. So in here you see that we have courses, right? So in the views.py, right, by the way, from import views, meaning that means the current directory or folder, and you want to import the views.py module, which is here. Okay, so use views.py. It expecting a course list view, a class. That's what we decide to do. Okay, you can create it as a function, but as I said in the class, implementing view in the views.py has a lot of advantages. Okay, so we're going to do that. So from here, I'm going to implement, instead of going through the whole thing, I'm going to just copy from my existing code to make it faster. So now I'll explain to you folks. Okay, so. So these are the the inputs from the reference to the the reference to the modules I'm using. So I create a class called course list view. The name matches exactly as this course list view. Okay, and it's really a poor man's version of multiple inheritance, which it takes two things, which is permission required mixing and the genetic list view. We will talk about this in second part of the video because it's too much to cover. And the list view, remember I said the list to list all the courses, obviously you need an object called courses, right? So it's a collection of courses. That's what the list is. So we specify the name of the model, which we will create later, okay? And then we needed to is remember I said in the class, the views.py, the function of the views.py is take the data, take the HTML, and mash them together to present the view with the dynamic data, right? So to communicating from the views.py to the data to the HTML, it needs a name for that context object. In here, again, I made it up. You can name this for someone else. To make for clarity, I used course underscore list. That's the name. You will see later on in my templates how I use it. Okay, and then obviously when you first query it with a list, do you want to see them all? You want to list with sorted order and so on and so forth. To make it simple, I basically use the filter which defaults to all the data, okay, which is here. The set query. So when you call this the filter, internally it calls the get query set. In my I just says courses return all, okay. So it returns all the objects. So it's that way I'm not limiting any specifics, okay. So that's what this is. And the next one is the template name. Remember I was telling you about the templates. You need the templates to render the pages. So that's specify the path where the template's located, okay. We will create that later. And on the number 12 is the permission. I'm not going to talk about this until second part of this project. You can just for now leave it as, okay. So now let's move to the step 10. Because these pages contains the data, so we need to go back to create the models. So okay. So again, click on the courses.py, courses the directory name, and create a new Python file called models. One thing though, I want to make sure folks understand is the models. Oh, by the way, I am sorry. The models.py when you run the start app, it will create it for you. Okay, there's nothing in it, but that's a separate thing. So it only has one line, and just say create your model. So it does have it. Okay, but you just have to fill. Now it's up to us to design the model. Okay. So now let me. So I am gonna, instead of going through the discussions of what should look like, that's something we can debate, down the road. But the key is right now, my objective is to get this going. So for this, I'm gonna just use what I believe based on the screenshot I got. I created. What I believe is the correct course model. Okay, where it is, it's here, right? So the course model. Now it has name, subject, slug. I will explain this separately, and the timestamp for creating it, updating it, and the description, and which student registered this, and who's the counselor for this courses, and where the location of this course is being offered. So, and then I have the save. I override the saved method for my particular purposes, and this is something in a class. Next time when we meet, we can talk. But otherwise, you can just leave as it is, or you can just read upon in the book. Okay, and on the metadata side of it, it's not as critical. And now, so let's just leave that. Now, I am actually. To make it a little bit more complicated or present a little bit challenge, what I did was I also created a student model or object, a counselor as well. Okay, it's here, student and counselor. It really has no particular meaning. You see there's a subject too. I was going to do that, but in the end, I just want to show, in terms, logically where the relationship should be, right? So that's what this is. Now, one thing I did is, again, as I said, I read the screenshot that Gary provided, and I have the impression there is a attribute specifically related to the location. So these are the locations with the A, B, C, D, or these letters are classrooms. Okay. Again, I just took what I learned on the website, and so it may not be 100% reflective of the AppTech's actual situation, but it's not important. We're building this, to go through it. Okay. Again, I add a couple extras to illustrate how you do this, with the relationship to the another object. This is what they call composite, compositing. So basically, you have one object. Inside of it, it contains 2 or 3 or more objects to make a composite view of course. Okay. So now I did this model, right? So next step is to say add courses model to the models part, which I did, right? Then what I do is, next thing what I need to do is, since we are also creating the new courses object, we need to add the forms.py. So the step 12 says is now the list is not a big deal, but for the adding a new courses, you are taking the input from user. So that means there is a HTML form. With the HTML form, the backend Django designer or creator created this module in your application called forms.py. So again, you cannot change the name. Okay, it has to be this way. Forms.py. What this is, it allows you to create a Django's object type called Django's classes called form. Basically, it matches your visual form, provide the data validation for the attributes you are entering. Okay, so what we do is we need to create that module first, right? And then we'll add the code, and it's actually pretty from a self-expl. Just a second. So again, instead of typing, I'm gonna just copy paste because it's much easier, much faster. This, okay. So you have a model form you want to inherit, okay, and each of this, and then obviously this is the focal point, right? It's the course form. So course form inherits from the model form, okay. Again, these are the existing attributes come from the form, the standard model form. So you need to override the name, assign name to your own, right? And then you assign the slug. That just leave this aside. Don't worry about it. I will explain to you separately. And then you have department, descriptions, and locations. That matches the model itself. If you look at the model, right? So you don't need it to fill these values. This requires no validation because that's generated by Django framework when it instantiates it. So it's there. So you don't need it to worry about it. And so okay. So you can, in this case, you see, I am not validating description. It's a text field. There's no particular boundary, in terms of get that validated. Contrary to that, the name field does. It says the maximum is 70. Okay. Right. So that's the name here. I have a maximum of 70, right? Because your model only takes the character more than 70 character long. So your form, when you receive the data from HTML form, you want to get Django's forms module, the .py module, to validating, make sure total character is less or equal to 70. Okay, so that's what this means. So the form is not a visual form. The form is the form data validation module. Okay, I guess that's a better way to describe, right? So even though it's called forms.py, but it really is the HTML Django's way to validating the HTML form input. So okay, so that's what the forms module does. And so you can look at the locations. It only takes the choice, right? We already described here, right? That's the location choice. So those are things. Now this decides what to show when you first displays it. Okay, so these are the name of it. Okay, so now we've done the forms, the models, and then we did the forms, right? That's step 12. Let's move to the step 13. Okay, now we have everything. It's time for us to glue them together. Okay, before I do this, I needed to add, for clarity, I removed the code, but let me put that back because it actually, to get this to run, it actually do need it, even though it doesn't really affect what I'm trying to get across in terms of this stuff. But let me just add this to. Okay, so now what it says, the step 13 is to add the reference to these two actions: courses, which lists all the records, and new, which allow me to add those two new to the main page, which is the index.html. Okay, one thing I did not mention when I was doing the urls.py is make sure the namespace you always want to define. Okay, you want to define app name in your urls.py of your application. Okay, you need to make sure you set the app name equal to whatever the name of your application is, and then you need to set the namespace for each of these passes. The reason for that is, as you can see, that when I adding the link to the web pages, that's how they see the namespaces. Okay, because you cannot add a Python syntax into HTML. So what we need to do is, as I said, it's the index.html, right? Here we said index. Now, for this project, the index.html is what I call the landing page after you have logged in. So it's the index.html, okay, is here. Because that's the home landing page, as I said. Everything else is just spawn off from there. Okay, this is what it look like, right? So here, the entire thing is actually it's served out by the home application, because that's the default application. And when you click on these, that's why you branch away from home. So what we need to do is, if you look at the home, right, it's the index.html. Now this is what it look like. Okay, well, where do I add this? There's only few lines: employees and new employee and search employee. Nothing else. This doesn't seem to be right, because there's no place to reference this, the admin employee, because the idea is to add a drop down here, right? Add the drop down here. So obviously this index.html is not no place for me to do it. Well, it's not right. What happened, notice here, it says line 1 extends base.html. Basically what it does is, it actually, the baseline of this HTML is a base.html, and then whatever the block you define in that master base, it will replace with what you put it in here. Okay, so this tells me I need to go to the base to add it, because there's nothing in here reference that, right? So let me just go to the base. Remember, the base is at the project level templates. Okay, there's a base.html. So this is right. So let's locate it. This part. Okay, so admin employee. So if I scroll all the way down to about the line 512, line 512. So now you can see it. This piece from here, the 512, the line 512, all the way down to 519. That is a block where the administration view being loaded. Okay, so all I needed to do, again, like I said, I decided to put this in between the employee and the placeholder. Okay, so all I needed to do is add. This is the. See, this is the admin, right? And this is the placeholder. So I'm going to add the code here. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, remember, this is the drop down, right? So all you really need to do is just copy that's why I deliberately left it here, in here. All you need to do is just copy what the previous one, just pick one. The behavior of this very much like what I wanted is very much like the employee, or for better, just schedule, right? So when you click, it expands out. So let's go back to the schedule on the baseline and see if we can just copy from there. Okay, so this is the schedule, right? So where the name is, it starts from here, schedule. That's the top level, right? And the next one will be general elements. So what I need to do is to add, just copy this, right? And then the general elements and advanced elements. So the two unordered list tag. Okay, I don't need all of them. Because I only have two things the course app will do for us: list and delete. So I just need 2 items. All you need to do is just copy this and add over, and then obviously you have to modify. Okay, so let's just show you. Let me show you how I did it, and then we talk. So we have the. Again, instead of going through all this, I'm gonna just copy paste and explain. Otherwise, it's gonna take too much time. Okay. Just give me a second, okay. So what we need to do is just just copy this portion of it, okay, and add it to it, and then you'll see. Yeah. So here is what we have, okay. And then when I put it in, and I will copy, I will compare, okay, so that way at least you can see it. So let me just put a side-by-side comparisons, okay. So I'm not put it in yet, okay. This is the code I want to put it in, okay. Look at this, it's a list, right? And in a list I have the title, it's called courses, and then underneath of it, and just ignore this, okay. Let me delete this because we don't need to worry, we don't need to worry about this. So So you have this. Just look at this code, okay? So I have a href tag, which is really the title of the the menu, right? So it will be equivalent of this. It will be this, the title, okay? When I click, it's going to open up and show the what's underneath of it. So the underneath the item is to unordered list. Okay, so I'm going to copy this in. Now, just real quick, I said I want to compare. So look at this, the comparisons here. This is the schedule, okay? Look at this, right? This is the head of it, right? It's the drop down. The head of the drop down, which is the same. If you look at this, they're the same. Other than the wording differences wise, they're the same. And then underneath of it, what I did was I added the to unordered list item. Okay, so if you look at this, it's the same. There are two unordered list. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remember I already located where it is. It's here, right? Under the administration, below the employee. So under the administration, right, and below the employee, this is employee. So I'm going to add it in here. Okay, so now you have this. One thing you can do in PyCharm is click on the code and do a format. It will automatically reformat for you to make it more readable. Nice. Okay, so now I copied it. So I have the root of the menu name, which is courses, right? Same as the employees. And then underneath of it, I have two items. One is add new courses, and the second is list and search. Remember, we only want to do two things, right? So now we have it. Now, one thing because I already did on my database, but what I have here in the steps here, what I have not put down, which I really should, is here. Run, make migrations command. Okay, so you need to do this. Then step 15 is run migrate command. Okay, same as using the manage.py. What these two things do? These two things does is it basically, because you create a new app. When you create a new app, you really needed to run the make migration. So then it run the migrate, which will set you up the baseline for your database schema, tables and everything. Because remember I said the model in the courses, right? Courses uses the model to persist its data. So that's why you needed to run that to set it up on the database side. So this is what I need to do. So I would run the make. Okay. Okay, now course detail view. Let me see. Okay, it's a course view. Oh, I did not put the rest of the in. Sorry. So yeah. Well, anyway, that's. Okay. So what I needed to is I have not implemented. Remember here? Now, actually, this is very good. It actually tells you at the course url.py line 9, right? And the line 9 here. I'm referenced to a class called course detail view, but I have not implemented. Okay, I have not implemented. even I implement it, will that work? So let me do this, okay, so we can see it and see if it actually will work. Okay, so just so let's see if it will work. Okay, so I have a detailed view, and I'm going to just copy paste in here. This is the simplest one. It doesn't do nothing. All it does is just take the course model, right? And it has a detailed view, genetic view already. What it does is just take the records and render it in a p tag, HTML p tag. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, and nothing is fancy because it does not use your own templates. Here, it's your own templates. You know, this one doesn't, so we don't have to worry about it. So the question becomes, folks, is if I run this, will this work? The answer is not, actually, because the urls.py also specify my url.py for this application also specify the course view as well, but it's not in the view module at all. Where is that? It's not in the view module at all, right? It's not there. But let's run it just to see it. So if I'm going to run the command, see, it says the course view is missing. Okay, it's the line number 10, right? And the line number 10 is missing. Okay, here it says course. So what we need to do is just implement that here. You know, the interesting thing is, you may think is, well, you may ask is, this doesn't have to do, Jack, you said this is going to be used to, because running these two commands is setting up for the databases. How does that even relate it to, you know, to the URL or view implementation? It is, because from urls.py, you are referenced to a view class in the views.py, which is, the responsibility is to mesh the templates along with the model data to present a view. So you are telling them, I want to do this, yet you are telling that when you're making the database update, it's missing. So that's why it's flagging it. Okay, let's try again. Now I have fixed those two errors. Okay, so now it creates the schema model already for me. Okay, now it's time for me to make the migration. Actually, because the first command creates the Python script to do the data migration, and the next one is actually doing the migration. It's going to run the Python script. Okay, so okay, we're done. All right, and just ignore these things because this is specifically related. If you already have pre-existing, you know, tables with the same name, and then you have to do some of the stuff. Okay. So now we're done with this. Let's run it, okay? So we're gonna click on this run. Okay, so it runs. Now, notice, folks, here, in the step where I said here I missed one, and I deliberately did this, okay? Add the corresponding HTML templates to the employee courses field. I did create this folder, but I did not add the corresponding HTML templates. What is the corresponding HTML templates? It's corresponding to list all the courses and add new courses. Those are the ones, because now you have the model, you have the data implemented, but what's the HTML, you know, page for me to, how do I present it? So I did not implement that. I deliberately did this just so I want to create an error so you can see it. Okay, so now it actually runs. If I click this, right, I should be able to now I'm logging. Watch here, folks. the courses shows up, right? And then if I click here, it dropped down. It has added new courses and list courses, okay? Well, here's the question. If I click this, will this work? If I click the list, it will not work, because when I click this, it will go to views.py. It's going to take the data. It's going to look for the HTML templates to match the data with the HTML template to present you with a view. The template is not there. The model I created, but no templates. It will error out. Well, let's try. Okay, it says, you see this? Course list view.html. It's not there, right? And where this is specified, it's specified from the view. Remember, in the views.py and the courses, I told the Django class says, hey, go to courses, which is here, courses, the folder, right? And look for courses underscore list.html, and use that along with the data to present us a list view. So I did not create it. I deliberately skipped this to make a point. So now what I need to do is basically to create that template. Now to create that template, instead of typing in the interest of time, I just make it quick. So I will just copy paste it in, okay? But we'll do it. So what I'll do is first is here, do a new HTML, right? What's missing is called course list. So, and I'll just copy this to avoid the new HTML file and type the name here to avoid mistakes, right? So now it gives you Python gives you, PyCharm gives you the default, insert some of the tags. But in our case, right, we don't use it's the Django template. It's not really a pure HTML. So I'm going to just copy this so at least you can see this. So again, folks, this is where the step 9 on the list, on this list, the step 9 on this list, I deliberately skipped it, okay? So I'm going back to redo that. This seems to be very complicated. It's actually not really, but again, it's one of those things is where what I did was I extended the base.html, right? So it gave me the whole view, right? So it's this whole view, and then I added the part of in here. When it clicks it, this is untouched. I only want to render this portion of it. This piece is where the space for me to put the data on. These all stay the same. So I'm going to extend the base HTML. I only add the piece, the part where the courses at the content level. Okay. So here is the block content. This is the block for this. Okay, for this. So you might ask what this is for. I will explain to you. Notice this permission here. I will explain in the second session. You can, for all I care, you can just remove all this whole thing. Okay. All right. So the content, you want to render the content. Content is this piece. Okay, with the course list variables, and take each courses, present a tabulated form. Okay, where this name come from? This name come from remember when we were talking about in the views, you're putting together the view, which is really the model with HTML templates, and you're passing the data in the course through a variable named course list into the HTML templates. So that's the HTML templates. Okay, so that's the course list. If I change this to Jack's parameter, you would type if Jack's parameter, meaning if there is Jack's parameter, and I'm going to take one item at a time out of that list, and then I take the value and to display it. Okay, so now if I run this, going back, right, reload, if I do this, do a list, see, course list. Okay, now in this example, obviously if I click add new, it will fail too. Click here, it crashes again because that new course new is not there. Okay, so what I do, I'll create a, just like I did with the list, I create a new one called course underscore new HTML. Obviously, I mean, you know, this is the raw HTML. That's not what we want. We want to do this in use the Django format, right? So now what we do is we will do this with the Django format, templates. It has to be in Django templates. So come over here. Again, I'm copy pasted. As I said, this is related to the permission, and I want to delete them because I will talk about in the second video. Okay, not this video. So now we have this. What it does is basically say, okay, for the new, it's setting up a form, a HTML form for us to enter the data. This is a bit simpler now because Django has some already pre-built format. So all it does, if you notice here, there's a form. The form tag. This is a Django. Again, it's a Django tag where it says as underscore p is just take each element on the form and render that in a p tag, paragraph tag, meaning from top to the bottom, one at a time. Okay, so let's reload and see what happened. Look at, right? We got it. Okay, these are the predefined select fields, right? Where does come from? It comes from here, from my form here. Okay, it says it's a choice, location. Okay, all right, and the same as the department. It's a choice, so that's automatically put this. Basically, the form is not a visual form. The form, Django frameworks forms that module is putting the data constraint to the visual form. And the data constraint in this case, these fields has to be a drop down with pre-select defined values. So that's what this is. Okay. So that's it. That's concluded how you basically create a new app, integrate that into the Passport main page. Okay. And the next segment I'm going to talk about is how do we add user permissions to the course application at the object level so you can do fine-grained security control. Okay, thank you for watching. So, this is a long video and it's also unrehearsed, so if there are the glitches and if you are probably didn't get it or whatever, you can rewind this or just send me an email and ask me the question. Okay, thanks for watching.